G'day folks, and welcome to this unboxing of Twilight Inscription, the epic roll and write experience by Fantasy Flight Games. I have played a few games of Twilight Imperium. Brilliant game, a whole day game. It's a space 4X game, one of the biggest 4X games in the ilk of sort of what is it, Space Empires 4X and Eclipse, which we played just the other day. Twilight Imperium is really one of the big monster ones. And Twilight Inscription is a roll and write game based in that universe. This just arrived today, published by Fantasy Flight Games 2022. It is a 1 to 8 play game. Now, I have played this. It is brilliant. I love roll and write games, but they tend to be very light. Twilight Inscription is the heaviest roll and write game that I've encountered. You're really focused on your 4 player boards, but there is a little bit of interaction, particularly on this warfare board, where you compare your military strength with your neighbours. I'll open this up and show you how it works. For those not familiar with roll and write games, they revolve around rolling a set of dice and then writing on your board the results of those dice. Typically, as I said, they are very light. Some of my favourites are Gonshon Clever, I think it's called, and Doppelt So Clever, which translates from German into That's So Clever and Twice as Clever. There's a series of these So Clever games where you roll dice and basically colour in a board to try and score points. Twilight Inscription takes that model and it amplifies it. The rules, it's not a heavy game, but well, here's the rulebook here, right on top. It's not a complex game. You've got this great play as you learn. So by the end of this, you pretty much have the basis. And it's only like 2, 3. That includes so navigation, expansion, industry, warfare, and then round 5 and beyond. You read through this and you have a sense of how the game plays out. And then there's the full rules, which includes information on solo 2-player rules, details on the various assets, and situations that may arise. The assets are at the back. Where are they? Here they are, additional rules for assets. So these are basically little icons that you'll encounter throughout the game. You circle them and you get the benefit. I'll talk about that in just a moment. But the rules are pretty clear. I had a few uncertainties around edge cases, but for the most part, yeah, a well-written, clear rulebook. It's an easy to moderate game to learn. But you really do have some interesting decisions. Marker pens to mark your boards with. Dry erase markers. They're all orange coloured. These are, okay, what do you have here? You have a mix of cards. At the start of the game, you'll be dealt 3 faction cards out of a deck of 24, and you pick a faction to play. Each of the factions has an ongoing benefit. So, for example, the famous Emirates of Hakan, which features on the cover and on the cover of Twilight Imperium. They are masters of trade. So this will guide you toward, this will kind of push you towards a trading strategy. You claim 2 extra trade goods, and the first trade good you spend each round can be spent as 2 of the dice icons. And then they have a special guild benefit called, faction benefit called Guild Ships, which you can unlock through the course of the game. So as I said, there are 24 of these, and they are really quite diverse, and they do push you in different directions. Some focus on exploration, some on warfare, some on industry. So a lot of replayability. Every time you play a different faction, you will notice the importance of their specific benefit. This one for the Queen, when you choose an active sheet, if it is the same as your previous sheet, spend a production resource, and there's a special benefit. When you choose your active sheet, either cross out 1 on an unlocked planet. I don't know the names of these resources, but basically there are 3 of them. Let me get the names right before I go any further. So you've got 3 black dice, 3 focus dice. That's what you're rolling. And the icons are material is red, influence is blue, and research. And this is what you're collecting and spending on your sheets. There are also, there's this asset summary reference card. Again, this is up to an 8-player game. You play simultaneously, so it's not a long game necessarily. And then the event cards, and you'll draw an event card every turn and basically follow the instructions. Typically, the most common type of event card is a strategy card. You flip it over, you spend the active sheets, choose the active sheet, and then spend this card's resources, in this case 2 influence, and then you roll the dice and spend dice resources. Yeah, so there's a series of these, and you sequence them in a particular order to resolve the events. Then you have a couple of other cards. You've got, get these out, you've got the speaker card, you have, these are the objective cards, so you'll have objectives, and again, each game will be different based on the objectives you draw out. You'll have one of these for each of the 4 player boards. So navigation objective, you'll have an expansion objective, an industry objective, and a warfare objective. And the first person to claim this objective gets the maximum points. Second person gets the second backup, or secondary points. And again, these will facilitate a very replayable game. Every game you'll have a different faction, you'll have different objectives, and of course you'll employ a different strategy. These are the wonderful large dice. They're very big and tactile, and as I said, each turn you will roll these. You will always get the black dice. In this case I've rolled 3 influence, and you can unlock these other special dice. Okay, thus far I've kind of shown you all the kind of resources and some of the broad outline. This is the core of the game. These are your player sheets. You'll line these up, and for your first game you'll actually use, I think it's the B side that you use. So there's the expansion sheet, and again 8 of these, because the game can facilitate up to 8 players. You have your industry sheet, and so expansion is where you explore planets and basically claim special bonuses from those planets. They tend to be, special bonuses that you're drawing. Your industry sheet is typically where you're drawing basic resources. And there are 3 basic resources down here. Then you have the navigation board. This is where exploring the universe and claiming certain benefits on there. And finally, you have the warfare board, and this is where you are building your military forces and competing with your neighbours. So if I'm looking at this board, the left side of this board is my military force to fight my neighbour on the left. The right side of the board is to fight my neighbour on the right. And this is where the main element of interaction comes from in the game. You are fighting against your left and right neighbour. If you're playing against the AI, there's a wonderful AI system here. You play against the AI, and both your left and right will compete against the AI's strength. So you may have a lot of strength on the right. You may win the right side and lose the left side. In each kind of era, in each kind of war, you, if you win the war on one side, you gain a benefit. If you lose, you suffer the penalty, which is just a loss of victory points. So this is kind of reminiscent of Seven Wonders. For those of you who have played Seven Wonders, where you are using warfare to compete with your neighbour, it's the same type of system. In Seven Wonders, it just uses military points. In this, you're using military points, but it's based on how many forces you've built, or basically how many dots, how many nodes you've coloured in on the left or right side of the board. So, if I can find my markers, for example, if I colour in a cruiser, 1, 2, 3 dots, all right, so I've spent these resources to build a cruiser, I have 3 points on this side of the board. If my neighbour had 2, I'd win, and I'd unlock this resource, which is a bonus green dice to use on one of my player sheets. As I said, dry erase, so it just rubs off like that, and you're good to go again. At the end of the game, you just rub it off. So you roll the dice, you pick a player sheet, you spend these resources. The resources do different things on each of the sheets, and you build up your strength, you build up your industry, you explore the universe, you expand onto other planets, and you try to claim as many victory points as possible. In the game, the person with the most victory points is the winner. It's brilliant. It takes that simple mechanic of roll and write, and it takes it to a whole new level where you're kind of developing a strategy, you're developing priorities, you're utilizing your faction bonus, you're competing against the whole table of people playing, but particularly against your neighbours in warfare. A lot of paths to pursue. It really is a wonderful and fascinating game. That's side 1B. That's also side 1B, which are this is industry side A, side B. The B sides are all the same. I believe the A sides are slightly different in their orientation, just again for replayability and variability. So folks, I'll be playing through this. I'll be demonstrating some solo plays. I'm playing with family and friends pretty soon, but I won't capture that on video. I highly recommend you check this out. This is Twilight Inscription, just released very recently by Fantasy Flight Games. Yeah, thanks for watching all, and take care.